This 16 days is devoted to carrying out sensitization, collaborations, identification of challenges, finding solutions to how we can deal with cases of sexual and gender-based violence so that they can be reduced in the society. And some of the things we are doing include visiting key stakeholders like the governors and the governors' wives who should be at the champions of advocating for this at the state level. We visit the parliament at the state level, the state house assembly, who are supposed to make the laws that will help the society to how to bring good governance, that will help to make sure that these issues are well taken care of in the society. We also pay courtesy call, we pay solidarity and advocacy visit to the judiciary as well, because part of the challenges are that some of these cases are unduly long, and some of them, the kind of ways they are tried does not give the survivors the opportunity to really, have a fair chance in their trial. So when we visit the judiciary, when we visit the parliament, you make sure that some of the laws that regulate these things are really tough on the survivors. So they have to be amended in such a way that the survivors can have a chance, to be free from discrimination, can have a chance to, put across their cases and have a fair opportunity to prove their cases. We also sensitize the schools. We're going to sensitize the schools, where these young girls are, to, equip them with the knowledge they need on how to respond. We are going to sensitize stakeholders, traditional institutions, who most of these cases are reported to at times, and they shove it under the table, or they try to, settle it in such a way that the victim's interest is not, it is more tuned towards protecting the violator than, granting justice to the victim. So we also deal with the other members of the society, civil society members, to work together, develop a work plan. How can we deal with this problem in the society? Some of the states have differences in the challenges that are facing the area of sexual and gender-based violence, because in some communities, there are serious issues of discrimination against women. In some communities, there are harmful traditional practices against women. In some communities, women cannot inherit even their parents' properties. They are discriminated against. In some communities, at times, when things like this happen, when there's the domestic violence, they will tell the woman to go and settle with the husband. What opportunity does such a woman have in settlement? So we are engaging them. We are raising their consciousness. Please, accountability is very, very important, because as long as perpetrators of sexual and gender-based violence are not taken into account, it will keep hearing. So the cultural perception needs to be dealt with. And we also now decided to set up a call center where people could report cases of sexual and gender-based violence. You realize that, as I tweeted in May this year, that we need to break from the culture of silence on cases of sexual and gender-based violence, because a key action to make sure we bring accountability is for people to speak out. If people don't speak out, if victims or survivors don't speak out on sexual and gender-based violence, the perpetrators will continue to go scot-free. When they speak out, then somebody can get assistance, somebody can notice something has happened to them, and it will have a kind of name and shame approach to the perpetrators, and that can discourage them. So we decided to have this call center, which we have also collaborated with Osiwa and the Nigari Foundation to make sure that this call center is linked to all the service providers in all the 36 states. The way it works is there is a toll-free number as well as other numbers. Once any victim or anybody who is assisting a victim calls into that call center and will receive the call, we now check the location where the violation has occurred, we now link the victim or survivor to a service provider. It depends on the kind of services which the victim or survivor needs. It may be access to justice. We connect them to who can help them to pursue issues either with the court or with the police. It may be a health-related issue. We connect them to a service provider who will be able to give the medical support they require for the violation. It may be psychosocial support, maybe the trauma. So we connect them to a service provider who can render that psychosocial support. The Commission is also having a public hearing on sexual and gender-based violence. It has never happened in this country before that there is a forum for accountability like that. In this public hearing on sexual and gender-based violence, we're moving from state to state, listening to complaints, to bring accountability, to provide compensation, to provide some recompense, some succor for victims of sexual and gender-based violence. And like I said, this has never happened before. Right now, we have visited states like Lagos, we have visited Enugu, we have visited Owerri, we have visited Kano, we have visited Adamawa, and we are still going to start another round of visits before the end of this December, and we'll continue in January, March, and all that. And all these are targeted at making sure that there's accountability. We're also collaborating with NAPTIP and the Nigerian Police Force. The inception of this pandemic, within a pandemic, what we did was we had to bring stakeholders like NAPTIP and Nigerian Police together to say, let us sit down. When there are victims, they are likely to go to report to either NAPTIP or to Nigerian Police or to National Human Rights Commission. So we agreed to work together so that we have cross-referrals, so that we can also expedite the response time to these issues of human rights violation. Yeah, the legacy I want to leave will be the legacy that establishes a climate where the culture of silence is broken with respect to sexual and gender-based violence, with respect to violation of women's rights. I would like the culture of silence to be broken because it's a key detriment to the protection of the rights of victims. So I believe that if the culture of silence is broken and there's a culture of accountability, it will help considerably to reduce violations in that area of sexual and gender-based violence. Then human rights generally. I know Nigeria is still battling with the hangover from military rule, where people think that human rights has to be negotiated. I don't think human rights should be negotiated. I want a situation where people's rights will be put in front of every activity of government, with every activity of people, so that we mainstream human rights totally into all affairs in Nigeria. That's the kind of legacy I want to leave. And we are doing that. We are working with the security agencies because that's the major challenge. We have established the human rights desks in the military. We're also working to establish human rights desks in the police and other security agencies. Of course, we have established our office in the 36 states, and that just happened as I came into office. I'm working on that. I'm also working on the capacity of the commission to see how we can cope with the avalanche of the number of complaints we are receiving, because we've created a lot of awareness. And then I'm also working on improving the infrastructure. And of course, I'm also working on activating the Human Rights Fund, which will give us the pool of resources to hire the kind of personnel we deserve, to hire the kind of experts we desire, to carry out forensic investigations so that we can really get to the root of a lot of matter. So I want to leave a legacy of the climate where human rights promotion and protection will be seen as the duty of all, will be mainstreamed into our daily life in such a sustainable way that you don't have to go out of the way to protect human rights. It would be a natural thing that there are inbuilt mechanisms that are sustainable for the protection and promotion of human rights.